Treasury, I have to ask. You worked in this office as a staffer before you became treasurer.
Yes.
So what's that like for you?
Oh gosh, it was 17 years ago. And I was working for former State Treasurer Dean Martin. I was his comms director as well as his legislative liaison to the legislature.
That's fantastic. Now, when you were working for Treasurer Martin, were you thinking, I'm going to run this office one day?
Oh, absolutely not. I was not even thinking elected office at all. I was behind the scenes. I had previously worked for 2 Republican governors, former Governor Pete Wilson in California, as well as former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. So really, I was working on those policies behind the scenes.
You worked for 2 Republican governors of California, which, believe it or not, that did used to happen.
Yes.
You know, any lessons from what you've seen in California that you think about in terms of Arizona?
The lessons learned first is that really it was a different time and place when they had Republican leadership in California. It's changed dramatically, certainly more progressively to the left, and their policies have gotten very radical. That's why you've seen so many people flee from California, moving to Arizona. We've seen great growth not only in our state, but in others, because people want freedom. They want the free market. They would like less regulations, less taxation, and we have that here, and the chamber leads that effort.
You're always pro-financial literacy. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that.
So as I was working for State Treasurer Dean Martin so many years ago, I went into the public schools and I was talking about money management, and I learned they weren't teaching this. And parents, if they're not teaching it, the children are not getting it. And then they become adults who don't get money management. We saw that in the 2008 mortgage crisis. So as I came in as state treasurer, I made financial literacy, financial education a platform of this office. And we created a new law through the legislature and Governor Ducey to ensure that students have a class in one semester during their high school years to have financial education before they graduate from high school.
You know, I think you represent a community, and you represent you were talking about being a mom of young children. Where do you see yourself in that role?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I am. I'm a working mom. I'm a mom of young school-age children, and we haven't seen that in this office. You know, the last female elected to this office was over 20 years ago with Carol Springer, so I'm the second female elected state treasurer in Arizona, but as I served in the state legislature as majority leader, I had both my kids in the state senate, so I'm an older mom as well. And those are the things we bring to the table when we're working on public policies. For instance, this 529 plan is something exactly for parents. And as I was having my kids at a later age, I too learned that Arizona wasn't the best place to put your 529s. Go to another state. So I wanted to fix that problem when I became state treasurer, and we've increased new accounts in just 33 months by 30,000 new accounts. So we roughly open 1,000 new accounts a month. And so we've got all of our investment team in-house, as you know, in comparison to the pension funds. You pay a lot of fees for having them manage it outside of the state. And so we have record returns here in our office, I think, for the last 20 years in comparison to PRS and ASRS. Not that we're comparing, but those are the facts. And so we've got Dennis Stevenson is our chief here. And so if you want to kind of show us, so the board here shows us kind of the daily activity as you're trading, and they trade here during East Coast hours. So they've been here a while.
Great work. I think this is the coolest looking room in state government. I've always said that. So especially for my members, I think they think this stuff is fascinating. Thank you so much for giving us this tour today. I know that my members are always curious how they can do more to help out. So, you know, I'll ask you that question really fast. What can we as a business community do more to help get out the message about your 529 program, about what you're doing with investments and everything else? How can we help?
Well, I absolutely love speaking on panels, as you know. So if you ever have an event or a talk that you want me to share what we're doing, but also just talking about the economy, we have to have our pulse on where we are on day-to-day numbers, and that's what we do in this office. So I would be happy to share about where our economy is today and where it is in the future to help businesses understand what they can do to plan in short and long term.
What's your favorite place to eat?
Really?
Or I can narrow it into a genre. I asked the Attorney General about Mexican food. I asked Secretary of State about burger. What's your favorite?
I have so many friends who are restaurant owners that I hate this question, because then I have to pick among my friends who own those great, amazing local restaurants.
Give me a nostalgic pick. You know,
Okay.
we have a family of 5. I would say small family, but I guess not. 3 kids feels like a lot.
Yes.
Where would you go? You know, you've got 3 kids. It's a Thursday night. You don't want to cook. Where do you go?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I guess it's a safe answer because it's no longer around. But for those of us who know that Northwest Valley, we used to have one of the first ever family buffets called King's Table. And nobody will know this unless you're really a native here. But it was a small little family-owned a restaurant.
King's Table. You know, you said your grandparents were with you when you were a kid. I was raised by my grandparents. They love buffets.
I know.
So that sounds like a recommendation, right, for my grandparents. You know, we ate at Ryan's, Golden Corral, all those places. That was like the treat for us to go. So King's Table, bring it back Northwest Valley. King's Table. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Kimberly.
Absolutely.
This is great. Yeah.